Welcome to the Fantasy Football Garage. I'm Chris the Candyman, and you already know what time it is. We're drafting best ball teams. Tonight, an extra special guest for you. If you're a best ball bro, if you're in the community, then you already know who I'm talking about because she's been online drafting teams all evening long. It's Meg from FANSPEAK, and I got to tell you guys, I'm really loving their best ball subscription. I read it every time there's a new article. So check it out. I highly recommend subscribing. We're going to draft a best ball mania with Meg coming up soon. It's going to be a 30-second, and I'm entering the draft now. So let's kick it to the intro, and we'll bring on Meg. See y'all in a second once I find the intro clip. But overall, it's like the guy can ball, like, actions speak louder than words. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm all warmed up for you, Chris. I'm ready to go. I was on with Sean Mitchell, and then 2 puppies with my brother. So I am ready to go. Though the brain, I don't know if you caught the end of it. The brain was not super sharp with my brother, just doing puppies. And then we were debating things. But I'm ready to go. I'm so excited to draft a BBM with you.
Awesome. It's been, I can't believe it, but it's been almost 3 weeks since the last time we drafted together. At least, I'm usually in the chat, and I know you guys have been going live a ton and doing a bunch of drafts. But the last time that we drafted on stream together was, I think, the Eliminator on that Friday.
Yeah.
Which was a super fun time.
So fun. Yeah.
And the time's flown by, but yeah, I'm excited to have you on to do a Best Ball Mania draft. And I wanted to talk about the article. I think you put it out today.
Yeah. I did that right before I jumped on stream. So I'm going to sleep good tonight.
Yeah. I check. Sometimes I get on in the morning if I've got a few minutes, and I just kind of check through my inbox, and I like to read quick things. And I found that the best ball subscription through the FANSPEAK network is like perfect timing for me, where like even if the article comes out the day before, usually the read is about, and I read pretty quickly, it's usually about a 5 at most 10-minute read on some of the articles, some of the quicker ones, and that's like perfect, like digestible, punchy info with actionable advice that I love. So I've been enjoying it, and I highly recommend, everyone in the chat to check it out. I've got the links in the description.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing that too, because you see people subscribing, but to hear that feels really good.
I think it's really good, and it's super specific to best ball, but also it's just like fantasy strategy, which I've always said that I think best ball strategy can bleed over into the other, whether you're doing dynasty, whether you're doing redraft,
right?
Some of the people, and especially y'all that write for best ball, it's some of the sharpest stuff, because we're just hounding and trying to win these big tournaments, and it takes any bit of, knowledge or edge you can get, right?
Yeah. And you'll notice on the articles, like Steve will do more of the player takes. Because I lean on Steve. Obviously, Draft Scout has been doing it for like draft scouting for 15 years, knows his rookies. Yep. It was very appropriate that of his 16 finals teams or whatever, that it was the big board that he finished 4th. And he does a lot of player takes. And then I like the strategy side a lot. And so I'll write more of the strategy articles. And then we're going to have rankings. We have both of our classic rankings up. His Eliminator rankings will be up, I believe, tomorrow. My marathon rankings.
I'm super excited for those types of rankings. So I do my own rankings for like Best Ball Mania and like the normal format, but it's like I thought about doing them specifically for the Eliminator or for the Sprint, but I'm definitely going to lean on y'all's. And in fact, I've uploaded your rankings here today, so we've got your rankings in here to draft with.
This is fun. I love it.
The first thing I noticed was how high a certain quarterback was. Who do you think I'm thinking of? The one quarterback who's much higher than I would have expected, but I love it.
Oh, there's a few that I'm really over the market on. Is it Caleb or is it Drake May?
Neither one of those.
Really?
It goes later, but you pulled them up, and I think it's awesome. It's very sharp, I think.
Okay. So a late quarterback.
It's a late quarterback. This is Jeopardy. This is a $600 question for you. And
who is Daniel Jones?
nope.
No, damn it. Okay.
Think of your exposures. I'm sure you've got a like 20-25% at least.
Okay, let's see. Oh, Bijan fell to 5. Wow.
Would you Bijan here?
I think when Bijan falls to 5, absolutely. Yeah.
I've updated. I don't think my exposures are updated through the draft I did last night with Emo Cowboy, but I got the best ball overlay up. They're pretty updated, and I think I have it. I'll check the filter, but I think I have it just to Best Ball Mania. So you can see I need to get more Bijan. I've only been able to draft him once before.
That's what I mean. He's in such a tough range, right? Those guys in that like 2 through 6, it's like you almost need the right spot or need them to fall like in our situation. So I like that we were able to get Bijan there. Steve wants to know what the question was. Let's see if he can guess. Damn it. Yes. How can I not guess this? Okay.
For $600. Who is a later quarterback that MEG has aggressively ranked that immediately stood out to me when I uploaded the ranks? So it's pretty much, very
I know. Let's see if Steve gets it quickly. Bryce Young.
That is correct.
Okay. I was like, it took me 4 guesses because at first I went a little, I was pretty aggressive with Caleb and Drake May, like 20 spots, 15, 20 spots above ADP. And then I was like, okay, late round, like I'm more aggressive on Daniel Jones, like winning the job or, finishing the job. And okay. Yeah. Bryce Young. Yeah. You know what really sold me was that did you see that Ian Hartitz tweet where it was, the division of the quarterback's fantasy points and what counted in the air versus the ground? And Bryce Young, 75%, 25% or 30% on the ground.
I did. I love that. I go back to that data. It's so easy to understand that, and then look at, okay, why is Jordan Love 90%, 10% on the ground? And then you see guys who are Lamar. I think it's been a while, but I think Lamar was like 65, 35. Actually,
he and Jaden were really high.
Were really ideal. And then you have Hurts, who's like 55, 45 was like, I think, or maybe even maybe it was 45, 55. Like there were some guys who were way out of balance, but then there was in either direction. Like Stafford was pretty out of balance as a, mostly a passer. Right. But yeah, I love that. I love those. And it's such like a simple little data point, but it's something cool to look at because it can break a lot of your priors on, is he a pure pocket passer? Does he have the rest?
I think a lot of people would think of him as more of a pocket passer. And so, and I know a lot of that came at the end of the season last year. We can finish talking about Bryce Young after this, but all right.
OCBK, don't worry. I've drafted an MVS team with Steve already. We're back on. We started with Bijan. Through your ranks, it could either be JT or T. Higgins. Another
if you want to go double anchor, JT, but I always like getting Higgins too. So I'm fine with either, honestly, so it's totally up to you.
Let's do it. I think I like the challenge of having to
and
get some
JT does not fall that often to 20, and Bijan doesn't fall that often to 5. So how many from the jump BBMs are we going to get Bijan JT? So I like that.
I'm in. I think the round 3, like around the 5th pick, you're typically taking a wide receiver anyways.
Yeah.
And it's, in my mind, it's pretty flat after Drake London and Ladd McConkey. If I see Rashee Rice or Garrett Wilson going here in the 2nd round, those are guys I would have expected to get with our next pick anyways. So sometimes I see Josh Jacobs falling to around pick 29 or 30. And so I've got a little bit of him too.
Yeah, but, I got on the first draft I did tonight, we got Josh Jacobs at 30. But yeah, and that's what's tough about the ranks is, it's not like you want people to take like too much of one guy, but you want to, it's like basically, I think these might be values if they fall or, like I'm pretty aggressively ranking like Travis Hunter. It's not like I'm taking him that high all the time, but
yeah, I feel the same way. There's, when I go off of my own rankings and when I kind of like show them off to the chat or just anyone who is interested, I have Lamar 1 spot ahead of Josh Allen, but I stress that like, I'm not going to take 0 Josh Allen and I'm not going to wait for someone else to take Lamar for me to get my first shot at Josh Allen. I just
Right.
have it ranked that way, and I do more of tiers, so I have like
Yes.
5 or 6 tiers per positional group, and then the running backs and wide receivers go out to like 8 and 9. But I think of it as like where the big breaks are and that kind of thing. And then also, what up, guys in the chat? How y'all doing? We're doing a 30-second best ball mania. This is Meg's like 4th streamed draft of the night. She was on with Sean earlier with Extend the Drive. She was on her own channel, the FANSPEAK channel, which in the description, check it out. If you're new here and for some reason you haven't come across FANSPEAK yet, definitely go check them out. Make sure you're subbed and check out their best ball subscription too. I love it.
Thank you.
And then yeah, she's been ripping drafts. I think this is honestly my first draft of the day, but this whole week, just steady flow draft.
And that comment was perfect. You are such an amazing content creator to follow and
Sweet.
Watch your streams. And you've been like in the streets like almost every night, which is awesome.
I'm trying. I'm like, I'm going to be drafting to get this volume in. I might as well go live when I can. And so
yeah,
just trying to get better every day and letting the chat keep me honest, but also trying to teach them a thing or two and not let them bully me around with their strong takes during the big board, which I proved to many of my loyal chat rats. I say that affectionately.
Do you like taking Terry as a first receiver here?
I love Terry as a first. Would you go JSN or Adams instead?
No, I'd probably stick with the ranks and go Terry.
So I've got 18% Terry in Best Ball Mania so far, and I want even more.
Okay, I was gonna say unless it's like an owner.
No.
I mean, we have so much time to push exposures, especially BBM, too. So yeah.
I was gonna say I don't let during the big board, a few of the moderators, a few of the most loyal in the chat, were questioning my DeAndre Swift exposure, which was about 20%, and it was all selected around ADP 120 to 105. And then they didn't draft any running backs.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it didn't look too bad.
No,
coming from the same group of people who were drafting Roma Dunze at pick 45 and 47, and so I like to
remind them.
I like to remind them, but I also like to stay honest and be humble. As humbly as I throwing it in their own faces. But no, it's great because I love digging into things. There's, like you were saying, there's like with the Bryce Young take, there's so many players that we have a conception of sometimes that is not accurate to what's actually happened or recently happened or going to be happening. And then there are other times we have players who are right in the forefront of our mind because maybe their name equity or they're kind of, they're maybe more popular in the public eye or just more, relevant. And then we kind of overdraft those players. Like you can think of Mahomes, right? I always say that based on his last two years of like fantasy production, if you blinded and you didn't know that he was a Chiefs quarterback and that he was Patrick Mahomes and you just looked at his stats, you might be asking why you're drafting him so high, and you could take a quarterback who's better or just as good, 3-4 rounds later kind of thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's such a good point. There is some kind of those like stigmas on certain players for sure.
Definitely. So let's jump into the 2 versus 3 quarterback debate. I'm interested to learn more about kind of your perspective and your strategy on that.
Well, that's interesting. That's what I wrote about, though. If a particular quarterback falls, it might, bust up, because I wrote about like how I do want exposure to the elites, and I will. I'll probably be like with the field on all the elite quarterbacks, obviously the ones that just went and going here. And oh no, Jaden went. Okay,
yeah,
thank you. I missed it. I was like, oh shit, we're going to have to take, because what I wrote about was while I like the elite quarterbacks, I want to be like at least with the field on all 4 of them, and I don't mind taking some late shots either. I love getting 3 quarterbacks in rounds 8 through 13. That's like my favorite thing. That's what I wrote about today. So you'll read it tomorrow. All right. So so I'm going to bump DK Metcalf down just to match ADP because he's been falling. Let's see. God, I love Kittle. I mean, I was pushing DJ Moore, but at this point I'm comfortable with DJ Moore catching up over Metcalf. So
take a DJ Moore.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my lean, even though
I'm open to it. It gives us another quarterback option since Jaden Daniels had gone.
That was another thought. That was another part of the thought process too.
Definitely.
I mean, you could have like tried to get Devonta Smith and then double tapped and hope to get Hurts, But yeah, so basically what I was saying in the whole quarterback thing is I lean 3 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
There is data that shows that, I know Billy Jones just did some data. Now, last year was one of the healthiest quarterbacks have been in years. So 14, I just wrote this in the R, 14 teams had their quarterback start all 17 games. The prior year, only 9. The prior year, 10. The prior year, so it's like, and then if you then count like total games missed, it was much better for quarterbacks. You could have, so you are protected in the, like, I know you draft like you're right and that kind of stuff, but injuries do happen, and injuries do happen to the quarterback position. So, you kind of protected there. And maybe I have a little bias because the 2 finals teams I've had, both were Dak injury teams. One was the BBM3 finals where Dak was injured at the beginning of the season, came back, but having a third quarterback helped push me into playoffs. This time in my Bulldog finals team, Dak obviously only played 7 games, was done. I actually got through the rest of the season with Justin Herbert and Aaron Rodgers. Well, say I just had Justin Herbert. Right. There was some, I would have made the playoffs because I had a really strong running back room, but I would have been right out in week 15 because Aaron Rodgers had 30 points in week 15. So just allows, like, those 3 stacks in playoffs can be really powerful. There's a lot of data across the industry that shows that. Does protect the injuries for sure. But so yeah, I personally lean 3. And even when I do take an elite, sometimes then I do take like a risky flyer, like either like a late Sam Darnold or take a stand on a Jackson Dart or Russ, whichever side you fall on, or a Daniel Jones or a Rich, whatever side you fall on, that kind of stuff. So I do lean 3. How about you?
So when Billy came on he came on the channel here on Tuesday, and he brought some data related to Best Ball Mania last year. And one of the things we were looking at was I had taken 2 QBs 60% of the time and 3 QBs 40% of the time, which felt very true to kind of like what I believed of how I drafted. And it was just kind of showing it through my Best Ball Mania, Best Ball Mania 5 teams.
Did you want to go Ridley here? What stands out to you?
Got a lot of Ridley. I do like Ridley. I'm trying to think, is there any
I love this running back range, but a running back will likely fall back. So
Ridley or Flowers? You got Ridley ahead. I'm down to do it.
I'm much lower on Flowers than the market. But are you okay?
We have another QB option too, so this is good.
Yeah, that's another nice bonus to that for sure. So sorry, you were saying?
Oh no, I was just saying. Last year I was more adamant about 2 QB, and I think I have been in the past. I'm definitely open to 3 QB, but the way the board is falling this year, the 3 QB option just makes a ton of sense. I think the two things that I'm just letting naturally happen and letting the market decide is like where the QB pocket is, where rounds 8 to 12, like you were saying, kind of that range, and then also the late value on tight ends is so good, and I love taking George Kittle. I don't want to miss out and have 0 McBride or Bowers, but the opportunity cost for a McBride or Bowers is really having high. A wide receiver 1 in week 17, like all of the week. Like if you took Bowers over McConkey, what if McConkey is the guy you needed?
We did last week 17, yeah.
Exactly. And then same with McBride. It's a little bit more affordable in terms of opportunity cost because of the flatness of the wide receivers that go after Drake London and Ladd McConkey in my mind. But then you want to have depth of really good running backs and especially wide receivers early. So I've found that the tight ends later, there's too many good options. It seems like you can't go wrong. I've been even doing some like mid and late 2 tight end builds, which I'm not afraid to do either.
Yeah, no, like I'll even do like a Ferguson or Goddard or like like a Tyler Warren and Goddard or something along those lines. No, I've done that kind of stuff as well. I absolutely love the tight end prices. I've heard you, BBG. I know Steve and I both feel this way. I've heard a lot of people in the best ball space talk about this. Like, yes, I understand what Bowers and McBride can do. I get it. And I'm probably going to like have the 4% safety blanket or whatever they call it. Yeah. But I have to force myself to do it because of what you just said, because of the opportunity cost. And maybe it's like also the bias of what's worked for me outside of Kittle, which has worked for me in the past. Like I've had a lot of success with late round tight end builds. And so I mean, I had 50% Laporta his rookie year, and like it
Ooh,
didn't take me to the finals that particular year, but
right.
I had a great advance rate. It was like a fun year, you know.
That's a big stand. I had 20% Bowers last season. He was my most drafted tight
That's
end,
huge.
and
Yeah.
that felt great. I mean,
And we
nothing to
have an
show for it,
opportunity
but
this year. There's a couple rookies. I know people don't love like the Warren landing spot, but Loveland, Warren, and then there's guys like Mason Taylor. Like, who
yep,
else are the Jets going to throw to besides Garrett Wilson? You know, like Arroyo, they could cut Fant, and you know, there's just a lot of options mid and late, both for rookies and veterans that I love in the tight end room. So that, yeah, I'm with you on that.
definitely,
Definitely agree
definitely.
there.
With this next one, obviously,
Oh
I think we
man,
skip
Burrow
over
falls all the
Burrow.
way back. This, yeah, I was
He's
gonna.
been falling a lot. I've seen on a lot of people's streams in the last
I
two
mean,
or three days.
I know I'll be in the camp that pisses people off, but I don't mind taking Burrow and backstacking with Gesicki or like a Gesicki and Taj Brooks. But if you don't want to, I totally am fine with that. And then yeah, Jennings or Caleb Johnson would be my pick if that were the case.
I think I lean just pushing for QB and seeing what we can do later because I'm starting to get the sense that Burrow's going to be going in round 6 almost every time. So I'm open to taking Juwan Jennings. I think it's kind of a crazy profile, but one of the best teams for fantasy points historically, and he was a key cog in moving the chains for that offense last season. They leaned on him. Even with Ayuk back, I think Jennings has a bigger role than even Pearsall does.
Yeah,
And, maybe we see things change again and Jennings goes back to being irrelevant. Last season we weren't even drafting him. He was going in the last round if anyone even took him. So it's kind of a weird situation to have a player come out of left field like that and go in the 6th round. I don't think the opportunity cost is that high though where we're taking him because essentially he's going to be our wide receiver 4.
right.
And you could have a complete 0 in this range and still ship a contest, which feels weird because you just want to make every pick count. But
Yeah.
at some point, you got to just kind of swing for something. And I think I do like having a piece of
Oh, the 49ers.
the 49ers on a lot of
Yeah.
my teams.
I love their schedule. They have like one of the easiest strength of schedules. Their playoff schedule is fantastic. I love it. So yeah, I love getting any way I can exposure to the 49ers for sure.
And we got DJ Moore as well. So we've got
Oh,
the
I
week
didn't even think
17
about
already
that. I didn't
picking
even
up.
think about the week 17. Yeah. And wow, Burrow did not make it back to the Chase drafter. I assume Chase went 1, right?
Was that T though?
Oh,
So the
they went
T
to
McBride guy
Higgins.
got him, which is pretty
Okay.
sweet. So CD,
Oh, okay.
McBride, and T is a nice
Okay.
start.
So he's got the Cardinals.
The problem was he
Bengals.
bit on the Devonta Smith Hurts, and then he's still committed to Burrow. So that's
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
that's
That's a
one
lot
where
of
I would
draft
definitely
capital.
just do 2 for sure.
Yes.
But I mean, so that's fun. I didn't realize that went to the Higgins drafter. Okay.
Yeah. It's so that's the only thing I've noticed so far is that he ended up they had to take 2 QBs
I was hoping
because
Caleb Johnson would
obviously it's
fall
hard
back.
to pass up on Jalen Hurts. You don't know that Burrow would come back, but
Yeah,
like I'm
right.
saying, I think when I was seeing Burrow getting taken at pick 71 or 72 before this last week, it was probably like 1 in 25 to 50 drafts kind of thing. Now it seems like it's happening 25% of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you like a 49ers double stack? If you do, you could go Pearsall and then really try to get Brock. If not, I don't mind the other ones there. Or if you wanted a third running
I think
back.
I'm open to it in this build. You're not in on Judy, so you want to go Pearsall, and then we'll try to see if we can get a double stack with Purdy.
I like that.
Okay.
Especially the fact I didn't even realize when you said that we had taken DJ Moore. So, I mean, let's be honest. That's one of everybody's favorite week 17 games for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And so I'm on the record as being a Pearsall hater, but it's really just because he's still pretty unproven and didn't do a whole lot except for week 17 last year. Had one other spike game, but I'm open to getting different. And I think, if I'm going to be drafting him more than 0%, I want to do it on a team where it makes sense. And I think on this build so far, it makes a ton of sense. Right. We've now gone 5 straight wide receivers after starting off with Bijan and JT. So like the double anchor build.
And I think a unique double anchor too. Like, I don't think there's going to be many Bijan JT. Well, we'll see. I mean, obviously there's a long way to go in the BBM streets. So
Yeah, Reflect the Sun was saying he just saw Burrow go 74, which is pretty late. Doesn't get much later than that.
Yeah.
You're right. Jeff T was saying about the ability to backstack with Cam Ward.
Oh yeah.
100%. It's very easy to get. And then K Mize, one spike week after season due to injuries. Everyone's back healthy. Yeah, I think we got to look at some other
Debo's
information about
gone.
Juwan Johnson. They were just using him a lot. He just became kind of their guy. One of the articles I was reading this week was talking about how Juwan Jennings was one of the top wide receivers in the league for first downs for his team. He was I think he was a top 10 wide receiver in getting first downs last season. And so they're using him in a different way. And I think you want to follow that up. We'll see if Ayuk can come back strong. Ayuk was having kind of a slow start to this season before the injury. I'm still a big fan of Ayuk. But yeah, like I was saying, it's a very odd profile to have that one breakout year.
Yeah.
At the same time, and yeah, McCaffrey was injured. I can't remember. Was the Juwan Jennings breakout game where he had the 3 touchdowns? Was that before the Ayuk injury, or was it like right after it happened?
I want to say it was right after, but I can't totally remember that right now. But yeah, Debo's gone and Ayuk's coming off the injury. So, that does make me like, as far as the pass catch, I mean, I'm very high on McCaffrey too, but that does make me like kind of all.
And we're high on Purdy too.
Pearsall. Yeah, it makes me like all of Pearsall, Jennings, and Kittle, obviously. So what 2 numbers are we coming? What's our next 2 pick numbers?
Yeah, so next up is 92, followed by 101. So we're getting close to the QB zone. We could do Caleb. I think we'd push him, honestly. Swift is kind of a fun piece too, because we're about due for another running back, and this could fit right into the game stack we've been building towards.
Yeah, we could go for a massive game stack. I mean, my Cam Scatabo sicko would probably just take Cam Scatabo, but Swift does fall into the game stack. So
let's think about that, because if we took Swift, there's a little chance that Scatabo, and we got a nice ADP fall on Swift so far. There's a chance Scatabo might be there when we come back, but would we rather take?
Probably want a quarter. We're going to want a quarterback next, I think.
And then if I just peek over at tight end, Loveland might be there later too.
So to me, I think it's between Swift and Scatabo, but I'll totally leave it up to you.
I'm going to go Swift this time, although
you're building out that game stack,
Yeah, I think we stick with the game stack.
Yeah.
I want to get a little bit more exposure to Swift at a reasonable price, and until something happens and he gets somehow more competition. And then I've got a ton of Scatabo, but I'm definitely into getting more. And I know you're a big fan as well. We did talk about this. I think when you came on last time when we talked during the Eliminator draft, I don't know if we got Scatabo in that one, but it was still that time in early May where we were so hyped up on him coming off of the big board.
Yeah. I don't know. I should blame Steve for all my player takes, because he'll get me into a player early. I mean, but honestly, most of the time it's worked. Again, Laporta's rookie year, the day after the draft, Steve was like, "This landing spot's perfect. They're going to be way overweight," and I ended up taking 50% that year. I have a problem. Steve can actually have control. I could just go obsessive amounts, and then. Last year, I'm trying to remember who it was, but yeah, I'll lean into Steve's certain player takes or agree with him. And then, but Steve, literally as the big board started, he started sending, it was right after college football playoffs. He was sending me Scatabo highlights, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so hooked.
Speaking of Scatabo highlights, I don't know, did I play the highlight for you last time you were on, or did we not do the Scatabo highlights?
I think we did, but I'll see it again.
Okay, we'll do a quick one this time. I'll stop it quick.
I mean, that's what Steve was sending me. He was sending me YouTube highlights, and I was like, okay, I'm obsessed. Okay, so a quarterback definitely fell back to us, right? So do we go?
Cam is there. Caleb is there.
This is hard.
Fields and Purdy are there.
I mean, we do have multiple options because we want Purdy, but I don't know. This is tough.
It's tough. Do we just keep pushing QB, or we got to get one here?
I say we get one here as much as
I want to go Purdy then.
Yeah, I say Caleb. Caleb goes first, but I'd still say, I guess the double stack could come back to it with the double stack. Hopefully, maybe
Purdy has a better chance of coming back around to us.
Caleb
I sometimes see him falling, and then let's just take a quick look at I noticed the Kittle drafters on our left, so he doesn't have the chance to grab Purdy before our next pick. Okay. I didn't see where the Ayuk.
Where did Ayuk is there, but where did? Oh shit! They didn't take a quarterback, did they?
Yeah. So the drafter in the 10 spot has Jaden
Oh, they took
Daniels
Jaden. Okay.
and
Okay.
just took Ayuk. So for them being their wide receiver 5, it looks like, or actually, no, they've got quite a few running backs. It's their wide receiver 3. Maybe they need to play catch up at wide receiver and they don't take the QB, or maybe they feel good enough that Ayuk is not their strongest bet. They've got McCarthy. Maybe they go, they've got Daniels. Maybe they go McCarthy later.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was smart to go Caleb first. We have 2 Bears. We have 2 49ers. Yeah. That's a big bet on that week 17 game.
Sure.
And by the way, we like both of those offenses, obviously, too. And so, we get Caleb because he's going to usually go first. And then, like you said, the other potential pretty drafters, he could fall back to us. So, yeah, fingers crossed if he falls back to us, that would be just a snap pick to double tap quarterback there.
No doubt.
Oh, Steve got it right. It was McConkey and BTJ. And McConkey, I had a top like 140, I think it was like 137 marathon team. I had McConkey on that team. And then BTJ was on my Bulldog Finals team. So again, I have player takes too, but my brother definitely can push me in the right direction and steer me off the stuff. I remember a couple years ago, Steve, I started drafting Treylon Burks and Steve was like, I wouldn't do that. And I was like, oh, really? Why? And I stopped, and sure enough, he was right. He was like, he's too raw. And then last year he said that about Leggett. Yeah. And he was right. And
very sharp.
This year he said it about Io Manor, but I don't think anybody's really taken Io Manor at this point with his draft capital. So
sure. Yeah. I wish I would have listened to more of that during the big board. Not that I had too much of them, but I was definitely drafting him at probably an 8% or just a normal amount, right. not an incredible amount.
The nice thing about big board with the 20 picks, though, is,
more swings, right?
More swings. Exactly. But yeah, okay. Well, there's a chance.
There's a chance. How you doing tonight, Tyler? Hope you're doing great, my man.
Always good to see Emo Cowboy.
He was on last night. We drafted a squad.
That's right.
It was a lot of fun. Right. And so always good to see you checking in.
I popped in last night. He was rocking the sunglasses, right?
You did. I remember that. Yeah. It all was a blur. You know how it all runs together.
I should have thought to rock the sunglasses with you. I didn't think about that.
There's still time. You got Nick in here. What up, Nick? How you doing?
Come on, one more pick.
We're almost there. And then I want to see what Alex says. Alex was saying,
I love the name.
Yeah, the Debo injury. Ayuk and Jennings were in the Jennings blow-up game. I was at that game. Oh, very nice.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah, tell us more about that in the chat. Let us know. That reminds me, I was at the game not at the game. So I was at the college football semifinals with Ohio State and
we got it
in Texas. So then we pulled the trigger because one thing Tyler and I talked about last night was, is it bad to have 2 QBs in the same week 17 game? Because then if the game is a bust,
I personally don't because I always take a third, and that's why.
Then I think we're solid.
But yeah, if you only take 2, I get the fear of that or the concern about that.
I think that's smart. I don't want to stop myself from taking a player who's at a good value that we've already got stacked up. Maybe Brock Purdy doesn't have a great week 17. Maybe it's Caleb who does. But Brock Purdy could have a great career season, and then we have different legs of this tournament we're trying to compete in, right?
Right. And Caleb goes off week 15 and Purdy goes off 16 and 17 or something like that, right. So yeah, I'm really excited we were able to double tap and get both of them, especially to get, I believe both, but definitely Purdy after ADP.
No doubt. I was at that game at Jerry World in Arlington, where it was Texas versus Ohio State.
Okay.
I was right behind the end zone when Travion Henderson caught the 50, 60-yard screen pass 1 second before the clock at halftime. And, to bring the game really, really close when the horns were starting to separate a little bit. And, man, that was a crazy one. Definitely a lot going on in that game. A lot of players that ended up getting drafted to NFL.
Yeah.
I was reflecting on that wasn't there, but I watched very closely, was the game before that where Arizona State played against Texas.
Yeah.
And Cam Scatabo had probably one of the best college football performances I've ever seen. Like, it's probably up there in games that I've actually watched.
Right.
game, it's probably a top 10, just a single player performance.
Right. Like he carried them. That's what I had Chad Candles on. He does a lot of morning streams.
Yeah.
And he's great. And he went to Arizona State and was at that game. So you were at the game.
I think I heard that. I think I heard him mention that. That's very cool.
So that's crazy. You were at the Texas Ohio State game. He was at the Texas Arizona State game. And yeah, I mean, he's obsessed about Cam Scatabo too. I mean, yeah, he was like, and I'm not even in an Arizona State like slappy or anything. I just really love Cam Scatabo. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, no, this is okay. So where are we at? Wow, quarterbacks really fell in this one.
May is there, but I don't know if we can do much with it. And I feel like we're almost due for a wide receiver.
I like both the rookies, Kyle Williams and Jack Besh, whatever one you like better, or if there's.
I'm open to both. I'm trying to figure out if one makes more sense on this.
Do we have any bye week issues? No, we don't. Well, we have 2 week 14. Besh would probably be, but I mean, I don't think having 3 is terrible. So
I'm okay with going Kyle Williams. Tight end wise, I don't think there's anything there. We had to pull the trigger on round 11. My Besh exposure is somehow so high because when Best Ball Mania opened, I did 4 teams in the first day, and I just happened to take Besh on all 4 of them. And all of my picks were like from the 11 spot, the 12 spot, the 10 spot, and the 11 spot somehow. And so Besh was there at like around pick 132 to 135. And I just kept taking him. And then I didn't even realize until I looked back on the teams that I had a 4 out of 4 for Jack Besh. He's risen a little bit since then. And, maybe the Raiders are a really exciting, fun team for fantasy with Geno Smith now. But I'm not like super crazy about him. I just think, I wanted to have some rookies in this range who could hit. And somehow it came to be a really big exposure for me. So I'm happy to sprinkle in more Kyle Williams to balance that out too.
Yeah, no, I like both a lot. Obviously, my rankings show that, but I really do. Steve and I, speaking of player take shows, did a series on the top 10 rookies. We're drafting a lot. Obviously, Cam Scatabo was in there. Caleb Johnson, who we talked about earlier, we had queued up potentially earlier, but we did a video on both Kyle Williams and Jack Besh, and just for the price of where they're going, it's like kind of a really solid bet on a wide receiver too. On, I think ascending offenses. I think Patriots are going to be much better this year. I think Raiders are going to be much better this year. So, I like both.
Yeah. I think, the one part about, and I during the big board, there were certain people who were very in on Kyle Williams, and I learned more about him. He wasn't really on my radar last season as I was watching college football and just fantasy radar in general. So I've learned more about him. I think he's a really intriguing prospect, and I want to have exposure to him. With the Patriots, it's so hard to figure out who's going to be important for them in fantasy once you get, the skill position players. So once you get past Travion Henderson and Diggs, it's like, who's really going to be important after that? Like, could Kyle Williams be that? Could it be, maybe it comes down to whoever gets the most touchdowns. Maybe Kyle Williams is good enough to hit year one. There's a lot of uncertainty there. So I like to lean into that a little bit, but also I don't know how it's going to play out.
We have Tim D in chat. He's in a lot of our shows, and I think he's a Pats fan, and so he said Vrabel's locked in. But yeah, no,
definitely right. What up, Bindles? How you doing, stud?
Always good.
And then fantasy football in Espanol. ¿Qué pasó?
Yeah.
We got a Caleb and Purdy one. It's a pretty fun start. I think this team's coming together great. Actually, it's 2-3-6, and
what are other stack options
for wide receiver?
Well, I meant actually, did you want to go Garenda? What is that around his ADP? I was gonna say it correlates.
It correlates.
I also do like Ray. I also do really like Ray Davis. So
I like them both.
I do like getting a solid fourth. So, but it's totally up to. I'll leave it up to you.
Let's do it because Garendo is a pass catcher. We've got Purdy. For some reason, if McCaffrey's not there for any stretch of the season, I think Garendo is going to have a huge role.
Hartman's calling me out, and he's not wrong. I'm like, when can we get the third quarterback?
I know. And then I wish I kind of would have looked ahead a little bit to see.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. So what are our
on the corner?
What are our receivers?
Yes.
We can't stack Williams. We can't because May went.
So we've got McLaurin, who we can't stack. Moore we've already got stacked. Ridley's still there.
Okay.
To stack.
Cam Ward and Okay, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, the two San Fran receivers, and we just took Kyle Williams. So we need to get off of week 14, and then we need
Mhm.
to consider when we're going to take Cam Ward.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say the only other option, and I don't even remember what bye week they are, is you could do, I don't mind doing like a Penix type and doing like, I'm soaking up all the Atlanta
Well, we've got
touchdowns.
Bijan too.
Right. That's what I meant. Like,
If
like a,
Penix is still there, I'm in, and I want to get more. I'm bummed we don't have like a Mooney
they
on
have
this
a good
one.
playoff. Yeah, no, Mooney would be
But
fun. They have Atlanta's another playoff schedule. I love San Francisco's playoff schedule. I love Atlanta's playoff
yeah,
schedule. So yeah, I don't mind. I do that plenty too for especially the third quarterback where it's like, well, I'm open to it with any of the quarterbacks, but where you have the running back, especially if
Penix
it's someone
goes.
like oh darn, especially if it is someone like a Bijan that does get work in the pass game. But even if it's not, it's kind of like you're saying, unless it's Tyler Algier, we're getting like access to all their touchdowns essentially. So yeah, that's a bummer. But Cam Ward could be a potential target. What number are we coming up at?
Yes, it's going to be pick 149.
Okay, so that's a little early. What is his
Not
current
too early.
ADP?
It's 149, and then 164 is the next one. Let me go ahead and pull open the player selection. Somehow
Whoa,
Jordan
major
Love is
fall
still
for
there.
Jordan. Holy cow. Unless you just want to do,
He
okay, he
does. I
went.
mean, I expected
Okay.
him to go. We don't have any Panthers, so there's no connection for us to get to Bryce Young. I'm cool with taking Ward here. I don't think it's worth pushing it. We don't have a tight end yet. We could go Likely. It looks like you're pretty high on him as well. And then otherwise, let me do a quick one over. We could grab Thielen and then try to get Bryce Young to come back around.
I'm fine. We did talk about Carolina, so I'm fine if you do want to do that.
Do you want to grab Thielen, or let's just go
Yeah.
Ward? Which one?
Yeah, just go Ward. He's there. I was gonna say we could have done. It would have had to be Thielen and then hope that we push Bryce Young, but we could have been. Neither would have come back either.
And let me think about that. So yeah, it's not like I think we made the right choice. Just lock up the QB we need. We feel good with now the three that we've got. They all have different bye weeks.
Yep.
We can start targeting these late tight ends that fit, and then we can I think with the 4 running backs we have, we could stop. We could do one more. It just is going to come down, I think, to which tight ends we take, and then I think with our build, we're probably going to want to lean towards. I'm thinking 8 wide receivers because we've got the 3 on the bye in week 14, but maybe we don't have to. It just, we took Terry and then DJ Moore and Ridley and Juwan Jennings kind of all in a row and Pearsall. So actually, the more I think about it,
I was gonna say, I think as long as you're fine with the 4 receivers that would be playing week 14 and you're, then hoping, obviously, I mean, I think the way we built, running back could be in flex anyways, but that's
true.
You're hoping running backs in the flex and
we have our 3 best running backs available week 14
and that's helpful on the
too.
Bye. Right. So that's helpful too. So no, Jeff T said that in chat too. You might as well just take lock up Ward.
One of the things I'll flip to this, and it's a little bit blinding, so light mode, beware. And then let's go to, this is from ETR. It's the draft capital curve. And once you get past pick 146, there's no difference in your picks. And so if we scroll down there, we got Cam Ward at pick 149.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between taking a player at 149 here, which is 9.5% of a Jamar Chase, and then getting him at ADP, which would be 163, 164, would be 8% of a Jamar Chase. So we've lost 1% in draft capital. That's nothing.
No, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
So if you think about our Brock Purdy pick, we got Purdy at 116. 116 is worth 21.6% of a Jamar Chase. His ADP is 108. That right there was worth 3% draft capital. So we made up more by getting the following Purdy than we lost by reaching on Cam Ward because of the difference in the draft capital curve. So I love looking at that, and it helps me feel better about taking QBs when you need to instead of trying to push them, and then you end up with less stacks.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like our 3 stacks a lot. And then how soon until we're up?
So we're up now. We don't have a tight end.
I love those 2 tight ends. Either one. I take a ton of Gesicki.
Yeah.
So,
And this is pick 164, but I don't think it's too early to do anything.
no, I
Just
mean,
want to check
unless you want to double tap tight end, you think he's going to come back or something. But
let's do Gesicki.
yeah, I do have him ranked slightly higher, but I love them both. I mean, honestly, this is kind of this is why I like late round tight ends so much. This is kind of a tight
They
end
bunch up.
sweet spot, like
Yeah.
you still have Freiermuth currently. We'll see if he comes back on the board. You have, I believe Hunter Henry's still there. We have some correlation with Kyle Williams. And then you have Mason Taylor, who has correlation with Kyle Williams, I believe, unless he's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, so I love Mason Taylor. There's so many late tight ends that I like that so often I fall into the late round tight end build. And someone asked earlier what my DBM 3 finals build was. That was a 3-5-7-3. That was a late round tight end build as well.
I like the 3-5-7-3. If I can pull it off and it's very correlated, it's one of my favorite builds.
Same. Yeah, exact same. And people will be like, oh, these late round tight ends can't match whoever. And yeah, I mean, I get it, but they can though. I mean, Zach Ertz had 2 touchdowns week 17. The year I was in PBM 3 finals, I had Dalton Schultz. He had 2 touchdowns week 17, and he was only 4% owned in the finals. Unfortunately, Justin Jefferson only caught 1 pass in the finals. I'm still mad about that. And then, of course, sadly, that T. Higgins game, that Cincinnati Bills game, didn't play. So, other things didn't break my way, but my late round tight end did its part.
What about Ertz in your rankings? Because I didn't notice yet where you have him. Do you have him well ahead of ADP? Are you very fond of?
I'm definitely quite honestly, I have just my love and loyalty for what he did for my team in week 17 last year. And Steve, ironically, we were both rooting for that. Ironically, we both had McLaurin and Ertz. So had McLaurin gotten the exact same game that whoever it was either Diane Brown or Zacchaeus had like a touchdown and a bunch of yards, McLaurin didn't do anything. I'll tell the story after this pick because it's funny. Sure. It's mind blowing. The sliding doors of best ball. It's just wild. So did Freiermuth make it back?
We've got Freiermuth is still there. So I think he's probably our choice.
Yeah.
Unless there's any other players that would make more sense, but I don't think there is. And then, Cam Ward playing the Saints, we can figure that out later. I've got some good ideas on what to do there if you want to get some bringbacks. So let's go ahead and take Freiermuth.
I love it. We're done at we're done at quarterback, and then it's just kind of tacking on one more running back, receiver, tight end, most likely.
Let's review this one so far because I'm going to refresh. We just took our second tight end, and there's all the players I queued from my phone. We just took our second tight end. We're in the 15th round with a 3-4-6-2 build. Caleb fell right to us. We got him stacked with DJ Moore, and we got a nice little value on DeAndre Swift. Brock Purdy, great fall to us with the double stack of Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, who I don't take a lot of. So this is the perfect build for me to get some exposure. Yeah. Cam Ward, we have him stacked with Calvin Ridley, and we've got some ideas on the back end, maybe how we can get another bring back for that game, or we just take maybe another late Tennessee piece. We'll see kind of what happens. Our running backs, we could honestly be done with these 4 and build the hyper fragile in this way. I think it is plenty of draft capital for running back. There's just a potential that in round 18, we don't need another receiver and we don't need another tight end, in which case we get the 5th running back. I think is probably, round 17, round 15, round 17 or 18 is where we look at that. And then the wide receivers, Meg, tell me your thoughts on the 6 that we've got so far.
I feel like that's a really strong receiver room, especially considering that we went double anchor, because we addressed it. Like you said, I believe we went 5 receivers in a row. So I really like this. I mean, I felt good then tacking on a 6th at 125. So I definitely think we can stop at 7 because even though the week 14 is going to be, we're just going to need our top receivers to do their thing in week 14.
Yeah. Mike, Rob, appreciate you being here, Mike. Hilarious.
Why? Because we didn't take Scatabo. Is that why? He always gives me a hard time. He gave us a hard time about our rankings. That he was like, "Oh, I'm stunned that Scatabo wasn't ranked in round 2."
I caught that. Yeah, I'm familiar with Mike. I always see him in y'all's chat, and
he's funny.
So yeah, it's always funny.
Okay, so Steve had it. It's Zacchaeus. So if So Terry only had another finals team with only one catch. If Terry McLaurin had, Steve and I both had Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz. Ironically, unstacked we did not have Jaden. So we just had 2 Washington players, no Jaden on our particular finals teams Steve had a lot more finals teams, but on the particular finals teams, we were sweating out him, the big board, and me, the bulldog. We both had Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz. Terry only caught like 1 pass. If he would have had Zacchaeus' game and Zach Ertz still would have done his thing with the 2 touchdowns, Steve would have either been first or second in the big board. I think first, but maybe second. And I definitely would have been first in the bulldog. Maybe second. Actually, I'd have to cross-check it. We both would have been either first or second in our respective contests. So
incredible.
The sliding doors of best ball, lots of money left on the table there.
Sure. So. Just the way it goes. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy game, and it just comes down to tiny little differences when you advance out of a pod, or if you when first or second or 10th.
Yeah, Steve would have been 100th. Second. I think I would have been too. And so I like Slayton unless you're looking for like
the only thing with Slayton is the week 14 bye, and I think
that's right.
I do want to avoid that. I like Slayton. I'm not crazy about him. I like where you have Calvin Austin ranked. I think that's kind of fun. We don't have to go. We could look back to Hunter Henry or Juwan Johnson or Dalton Schultz. I want to get your thoughts, and then running back. Maybe
that can be later, like you said. I would say either falling value in Dalton Schultz or taking Calvin Austin. It's totally up to you. Or sorry, I meant Hunter Henry.
I'm cool with going Calvin Austin there.
Yeah, that works.
He's explosive. We have Freiermuth already, so now we're getting a little bit more into the Pittsburgh offense. And unless a guy like Keenan, and not that Keenan Allen has the same role as Calvin Austin, they're completely different, right? But unless another free agent receiver or someone ends up in Pittsburgh, I don't see how Calvin Austin doesn't have a role where he's getting the snaps in those 3 wide receiver sets. And then I don't know how often they're running 3 wide. I think the Steelers probably run it a little bit less than most, but just my own intuition. I don't really actually know, but
I'm taking both Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson as late
18th
round picks. Yeah.
Roman Wilson was great in college. I just,
he just had an injury, just the
how to translate.
Quotes from the GM was that they expect, him, if he can stay healthy, it was more like a health thing. And if he can stay healthy, they expect a big 2nd-year breakout. So I'm ready to get hurt again, like the office gif, because I've definitely had way too much Roman Wilson last year. So
let's see. Love the late round tight ends drafting. Sadly, have just 2 in most. Yeah. It's, and especially like if you take one early, it makes it hard to get back to 3. Though I think the way we've done it, though, we still could go 3. We could stop at 2. It's really, to me, either one could work.
What about falling? He just went. I was going to say Jalen Wright seemed like a good click there, but he's gone. I don't mind some of the rookies later if you wanted to lock up the last tight end. I actually probably would do a 3rd tight end. Who's at the top of the tight end?
For sure. Juwan Johnson gives us a bring back in that game, which is kind of fun. We also could do.
I like Arroyo.
I guess I'm not drafting Okonkwo this year as much.
He was, like I said, my late round tight ends were Tyler Conklin, Chig, and Zach Ertz, and
right.
But yeah,
he goes.
He
doesn't get drafted much until he goes in round 17, right before we considered it. But I'm cool with Juwan Johnson. With Foster Moreau has got the knee injury. You got Taysom Hill with the knee injury.
Yep.
Juwan Johnson seems like the clear top option in that tight end room. And then it's just, is it Rattler or is it going to be Shuck? So
yeah, I like Juwan Johnson. I mean, he was he was the week 17 tight end hero 2 years ago, I believe.
He can get it done. I've got a dynasty best ball team that I've got him on, and it helps for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's a fun late round tight end. Gesicki, Freiermuth, Juwan Johnson, and then you've got some correlation there, like you said, with Juwan Johnson and Cam Ward. Is it with Cam Ward, right?
Yeah, that's what we got. We ended up getting a bring back for that game where we've got our Cam Ward and Ridley stack, which is just, it's one more nice thing. I don't think we had to force it in round 17. It was free and we needed a tight end that we thought would kind of bring that room together nicely.
Yeah.
So Juwan Johnson's kind of like our rug for the dude in the Big Lebowski. It brings the whole tight end room together real nicely. It's that last piece he needed, that rug. And then now we have this luxury pick where we could go running back, we could go wide receiver. I think we can spend a little bit of time looking at it together and kind of big brain what has the most value to this squad, because I really, even though we've got two at the same bye, I feel really strongly that this could be a hyper fragile. And then the wide receivers also, we've got a really good 5. And then it just is, is there someone we want to tack on for the upside, or do we want to build out to give our week 14 bye, take some pressure off that? But like you had said, we're probably going to end up flexing a Swift or a Taylor that week anyways.
Right. Both considerations for me just went as at each position. Ford just went. He correlated the Steelers, even though he's kind of like, who knows what option. And then Slayton, he was falling. He's one that but again, he's week 14. We had a bunch of week 14. So we're in a kind of a grosser place of the draft that I would probably lean the running back here, just because with the 2 week 5 buys, number 1, number 2, Garendo is, I'm sure there will be some standalone value similar to what probably Shipley will be in Philly, but just in case, I think having like a fun upside rookie might be fun on this team. That's not week 5. Basically.
That's true too, is I don't think we've got very many rookies on this squad. We've got Cam Ward, of course, but then after that, it's really just Kyle Williams, which sometimes I end up drafting teams that are really rookie heavy, and then you kind of shoot yourself in the foot with having a low floor, and you wish at the end of the season you had half of the amount of rookies, just so that the guys who end up hitting in the late part of the season paid off. But then you just kind of, it makes it harder to advance if you take too many big swings. And so it's like,
right.
I've just noticed in my maturing in my best ball drafting that probably go overboard on the rookies when you got 20 rounds, but when you only have 18 rounds, you can actually dilute your bet on some of the rookies by taking too many in one draft.
I saw someone mention, is Brashad Smith gone? And I do, and Mike Robb is right. I do like Taj Brooks to be the number 2 there. So I think Neal or Brooks would be, or if Brashad Smith is still there, would be my.
Let me check. 3. I don't know, because I'm not sure where you had him ranked, but Brashad Smith was drafted.
He's drafted.
Actually, yeah.
And for me, it would be Neal or Taj Brooks. Neal correlates to,
I like them both.
And then they both correlate to Bengals and Saints. Obviously Bengals are the much better team, so I would probably just lean that.
I'm leaning Brooks.
It's Steve's favorite sleeper, so you can, and I think he comes away with the running back 2 job.
I am a fan. My brother and sister both went to Texas Tech, and so my household, we follow the Red Raiders football as well. And Taj Brooks was their best player for a long time running.
Yeah.
One of the stats I liked, and I did notice, I think it was, I don't know if I saw Taj Brooks in the recent rookie running back article that was written up, because I think it was concentrated more on the top guys. Mm-hmm. But I just remember either speaking with Steve about it or seeing something you guys had written already about really Taj Brooks.
Yeah.
And my stat that I like to throw out there, it's been like a month, so I'll have to remember exactly, but in his last 24 collegiate games, 22 of them he had, in the last 22 in a row, he had 90 plus rushing yards, and only, I think, 2 or 3 of them he had less than 100. So he was averaging like 120 rushing yards a game. Yeah. And I think he's just a guy that can carry the workload with, and I will say this, with Chase Brown, another guy that I really liked coming out of college. Not that I had watched him a lot in college, but just as I was doing my research in 2023 on the rookies and the running backs, Chase Brown stood out to me as a guy that had really nice size and speed and production and could catch the ball too. So I was optimistic when he landed with the Bengals that he'd win over the job eventually. We didn't see so much his rookie year. And then last year, of course, he gets the big opportunity. I think he kind of came on late at the end of his rookie year, but it was really last year with the big opportunity. But then when I go back and reflect on what happened in that season, I kind of learned that Chase Brown is more of a volume and touchdown dependent play, where he's not the most efficient. And maybe that's something about the Bengals offensive line too. Mm-hmm. But I would dare to say there's certain profiles like Kyron Williams, who's got a nose for the end zone, and he's one of the best
That's
at
what Steve just
converting
said in
touchdowns.
chat. Yeah.
But Kyron Williams is also very volume and touchdown dependent, where if Kyron Williams had to split a workload, he might not be able to pay off his fantasy value. Like if you imagine where Gibbs and David Montgomery split a workload, and Gibbs is still one of the best assets in fantasy, Montgomery is still valuable. I think if a Chase Brown or a Kyron split a workload, they could lose all of their value and just be one of the worst picks. So all that to say is if Taj Brooks can take over some of the workload, I think that he could do something with it too. And so I don't know, maybe Chase Brown is kind of being overdrafted a little bit as a conclusion I'm starting to come to. Although there's also a role in fantasy for guys that are just on good teams and getting touches. So like even David Montgomery with the Lions, they're such a good team. They score so many touchdowns that because even though he's not efficient, he can still produce for fantasy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. And I was just looking at our Substack and our subscriptions in the part 2 of the rankings. He had, Steve had Taj Brooks as running back 16.
Very interesting.
Yeah, but he still had him ranked, as far as a rookie running back to consider taking in as an 18th round flyer.
Taj Brooks time. Yeah, we're in.
Mike Robb called it. I like it. I like this team.
Yeah, let's take another look. Let's swing through it. I'm going to zoom out just a bit so we can see a little bit more of our players. I think it helped. 3573. We both admitted we like this type of build when we can pull it off.
Yeah.
We got the team stack with Swift, and then we have DJ Moore. We already reviewed it, but Brock Purdy double stack is fun to do. We've got the game stack to bring back there, the week 17. With Cam Ward, we're able to get a stack with Calvin Ridley. And I think I like where you have Ridley ranked pretty aggressively. I've been taking a good amount of Ridley. I think he's always been good for fantasy. He's always been a guy that could score big time points, spike week. I think back to that. I think it was either a sophomore year when he scored 3 touchdowns in a game for the Falcons.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was just a guy that could win you a week in fantasy. I think he still has that potential, even though
now he has a much better quarterback and a quarterback upgrade.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Probably, I guess he played with Matt Ryan for a while, but probably the best quarterback he's had.
I guess
with Trevor Lawrence too.
I was just meaning from last year.
Definitely from last year. I guess Will Levis was willing to chuck the ball up, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then with Trevor Lawrence hasn't really had as much touchdown upside, and so that kind of caps.
But that year he had I don't know how many, multiple foot on the goal line. He was ruled out. He and Trevor Lawrence would have had 2 or 3 more touchdowns. I could be even underselling that. It was really bad variance of just his foot out.
Totally. Tell me what you think about this running back room.
I love it because, we started double anchor, and then I do like tacking on a third, no matter, even if I do start double anchor. And again, Steve and I talk about it a lot. We're building on half point PPR for the running back to hit the flex. Yep. And so I really do like getting that third running back by that 9th, 10th round, or between 8 to 10 rounds, 8 through 10, because you can tack on a Swift, a Scatabo, a Jordan Mason, someone like that, where should still have some touchdown equity, or on teams you like, or whatever the case. And it's a third running back that you feel pretty good about. And I like that. And that then allows you to just be able to build with 5.
Totally. I did just notice it's an extra added bonus that we have the Colts playing the 49ers in week 16.
Oh, that's fun.
So that's a little fun. Jonathan Taylor, bring back for our San Fran stack. I think I've been saying that I like when you have 3 running back ones on their team that are the workhorse guys that get the job done. That just feels nice. And so I've been building more 5 running back rooms with 3 guys that are already established starter. I think there's some concern that Roschon could take a bigger role. He was a touchdown guy, kind of a touchdown vulture last season. But maybe that swings back to Swift and with Ben Johnson. So who knows? Garindo, I think, has value on his own, standalone value, and he's our contingent play. If anything happens to McCaffrey, Jordan Mason isn't there anymore, and Garindo could be a really nice piece. Otherwise, he's going to be catching passes from Purdy, and we like that upside. Then Taj Brooks is our rookie swing for the fences that I think you can't pick a much better team to be on than the Bengals if you're just going to take a swing on a rookie.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
The wide receivers, we pulled it off. Like you said, after we did the double anchor, we pulled it off nicely. We get some more rookie upside with Kyle Williams. Who knows? The wide receivers that were going in kind of that, the rookie wide receivers who were going in the middle rounds last year, a lot of them paid off huge. I think McConkey and Brian Thomas were going a bit higher than Williams is going right now. Is that right? Do you remember exactly where they were going?
Yeah, I want to say they were going
70s, 80s?
70s, 80s, I think. Yeah.
So still a little bit higher. I guess that's where we have like a Buka, and maybe a little bit later than that, you have like Higgins and Trey Harris. But I think Kyle Williams is close to those guys enough upside wise, and on a team that is completely mixing it up at wide receiver after last season, right? A complete change up for Drake May.
Oh, absolutely. And I expect just a big leap. I know we have Tim and Chad, who's a Pats fan, just a big leap with McDaniel as the offensive coordinator for May and the entire offense, the new receivers.
Yeah, no doubt. And then this tight end room, perfect fit for me. Just what I'm looking for. When I imagine teams that are going to be winning these large field tournaments, if it's not the year of the elite tight end, it's going to be some combination that looks kind of like this. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, Gesicki, really good offense. Freiermuth, I think just with moving Pickens is just going to have a really good role. Yeah. And then Juwan Johnson, really good role and correlates to the Cam Ward stack too.
Totally. And we didn't have to force it so much. And then when it came down to our last 6 picks, we were pretty honed in on our core build, and we're just tacking on, the Cam Ward piece and, one more wide receiver. We got all of our tight ends in that range, which it paid off. We kind of knew going into it that we might be looking to do a late tight end, 3 tight end build. And I don't think I've had a bad experience yet. Have you regretted going 3 late tight ends like in any draft you've done so far?
No, I just I love so many of the tight ends. Honestly, if you even want to start up at like the Loveland range, like the Loveland Warren, and then like the Fergusons and Goddards underneath that, and then like this whole range that we got, I absolutely love like the mid to late round tight end builds. And even if it is like pretty late, like we got 3 in the last 5 rounds, right? Yeah, I love that.
I pulled it off very nicely, I think.
Yeah. So, and there's even other ones, like I mentioned, Mason Taylor or Hunter Henry, or there's other ones that we even could have mixed into that like rotation. So no, I absolutely love the late round tight end build this year specifically. And this room I love.
Well, there we have it. We drafted a 30-second Best Ball Mania. It was actually the first Best Ball Mania that we've drafted together, and we pulled off a really good 3-5-7-3 build. We hit the 3 tight ends, we hit the 3 quarterbacks, all things that you're talking about in your latest article on the FANSPEAK Best Ball subscription. Before we sign off, do you have anything else going on the rest of the week that you want to plug? And also, I'd love for you to tell everyone else about the FANSPEAK Best Ball subscription that I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you're a huge fan of it. I love hearing that. And, guys like Tim and other people and Hartman and Chad have said the same thing. So we really appreciate hearing that for sure. But yeah, we're going to be having 3 to 4 articles a week from Steve and I. I just put out an article today, like I said, about 3 quarterbacks in that 8 through 13 range. And we accomplished it here today, which was awesome to write about it and then accomplish it. So that was really fun. So yeah, 3 to 4 articles a week from Steve and I, rankings, updated weekly from Steve and I, of course, more as the, preseason and training camp heats up. And then we're going to have rankings for all the different sites and formats. So again, Eliminator and Marathon rankings will be out probably tomorrow and Saturday, probably Sprint next week, DraftKings and Drafters early in June. So yeah, rankings, articles, and then we'll start doing some sub-only shows too. So check that out on the Best Ball subscription on Substack for FANSPEAK. And then, yeah, we're doing live drafts or fun shows like Best Ball Jeopardy every weekday, strategy shows usually uploaded on the weekend. Tomorrow I have PPR Tyler, a favorite of both of ours.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, heard of him. I think you are on with me next Friday, right? Did we? I think we scheduled that. Yeah, I think you're Jeopardy next Wednesday and you're Friends of Basketball next Friday. So I've got a lot of fun stuff with you, and I'd love to hear that. But yeah, tomorrow, PPR Tyler, Friends of Basketball, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thanks for drafting with us tonight, for being in the chat. And we'll see y'all in another draft real soon. Catch y'all later. Peace.